Alright guys, it is Vol, and we're watching a game of Warhammer Fantasy Battles between vampire counts and high elves. Now just to explain, for this game I've decided to use a collection of some of my Tomb Kings models and some of my Warriors of Chaos models to represent units from a vampire count's army. It's a very infantry-based army. If you look at the video description, you'll be able to see an exact army list. That'll save me from having to talk through it so carefully. But if you read through the list, you'll see that it's mainly oriented around infantry with all the skeleton warriors and graveguard. And I've been able to use my Chaos Warriors, Chaos Knights, that is, to represent Blood Knights, my Warhounds to represent Direwolves, the Carrion to represent Fellbats, and normal heavy cavalry to represent Blackguard, and mounted Chaos Knights there to represent normal vampires. And I've got a special classic out of production vampire model on foot to represent the Vampire Lord. My opponent is Simon, who is playing as High Elves this game. He's just using random High Elf miniatures he's got from around the house to represent an army which we're both going to be up against in the following tournament coming up this weekend called 10 Soldiers 3. Now, after next weekend, I'll post about 6 different battle reports for 6 different games that I'll be playing for that event. I'll be using Tomb Kings, but this is a High Elf army that somebody else is going to be playing as, and Simon wanted to practice a game using that particular list, so he's just got some miniatures around home to represent what he can. And it's a Star Dragon list, a very efficient list. You can't really argue that anything in this list is suboptimal. He's just got all of the main toys and tools. Everything's optimized. It's a very, very tough list. In my opinion, you should at least make a few concessions here and there, but the person that has taken this list has not done that. That's for sure. Anyway, as you can see, there's the deployment. Next, you can see a bit of an overview of here, and I'll just start talking about what I'm actually doing here. Keeping all the infantry in the middle to be supported by the Vampire March move rule. I've got the Black Knights behind the forest that can move through the forest. Now, I've joined a Vampire fighter to that unit. Now, I know that the Black Knights can't move through that forest straight away, but the reason the character is there is so that it can give the March move bonus to everybody within 6 inches, and then move away into the Graveguard in the following turn. On the other side, I've got the Blood Knights with a Vampire carrying a battle standard joining them, and they are screened by a unit of Direwolves to prevent me from having to charge straight away until he destroys the Direwolves, and me going crazy on the Coke cans behind. A bit of product placement there. Next photo, my opponent wins the roll for the first turn and decides to take the second turn, so that's forcing me to move out first. In my turn, I just simply move forward with everything that I can, and as quickly as I can. Importantly, keeping the Black Knights back a little bit so they can stay in the forest. That prevents them from being charged by the Lion Chariots, which would destroy themselves if they did that. And I've moved the Vampire on horse, on a Nightmare, to the Graveguard unit. In the Magic phase, I've got a very powerful Lord-level Vampire. Lord-level Vampire with 5 dice of his own, thanks to Master of the Black Arts. And he's able to use that to summon new skeletons and increase them beyond their starting unit size, which is why I've only taken 15 per unit to begin with, and why I've taken a banner which gives me an extra rank bonus for one of those units. So he starts immediately raising enough vampires, enough skeletons to give me the unit sizes that I need. And Blood Knight's still screened on the flank on the other side. Next picture shows you that what he's going to have to do here is destroy the Direwolves and put something in front to frenzy bait them, or to get something in between the Direwolves and the Blood Knights. But I've tried to make it difficult for him to do that with the forest and the skeleton warriors in the way. Swordmasters up ahead, same with Spearmen. Going to be tough for my skeleton warriors to beat by themselves, but I've got the Helm of Commandment, don't forget, which is an extremely powerful item in the context of this army. So that's part of the strategy of this army list, is the careful use of that Helm of Commandment item. Next photo, it's his turn, and he lands the dragon and the eagle behind the Blood Knights, breathing a little bit of fire over top, killing a couple of Direwolves. Fortunately, I don't have to make terror checks, but now it puts me in the situation where I have to be careful about my unit positioning, otherwise I'll get the dragon in the wrong end of the combat, and we don't want that to happen. Bit of a terrible dragon at the moment, but Simon is working on other projects. I should say at this point, Simon is the same guy that actually has created the Gobtonia army that you guys may have heard of on warseer.com. He's also working on a new project as well, which you may have seen in that same thread. This is Simon, who I played against in FluffyCon. This would be my 4th game against him total. My track record has been against him has been 2 wins, 1 loss. But go to warseer.com and check out his armies, because they are awesome. I'm starting an Empire army myself, and we are going to have a bit of a battle between my Empire army and my Altdorf themed Empire army and his Goblindorf themed army, which is going to be hilarious. So if you guys want to find out a little bit more about how that works, go check out and find the thread on Warseer. Next, on the left-hand side here, he's landed his eagle in front of, well, near to my direwolves, and he's brought his dragon princes around as well. This will sort of get in the way of the direwolves, and what he's trying to set up here is an opportunity for the dragon princes to hit the black knights, because the lion chariots can't do that, given the black knights are in the forest, but the dragon princes can, because they have the banner of Illyrian, allowing them to move through difficult terrain like forest without penalty. Next, it's my second turn. I've had Flames of the Phoenix cast with irresistible force onto the graveyard, but able to dispel it in my following magic phase. I've got tons of skeletons being cropped up here by the Vampire Lord, just positioning very carefully so that the dragon can't charge my main unit in the flank. I don't really care if he charges the rear of the Blood Knights, because I've got some really cool items and static combat res in that unit to help me fend off the dragon. But what I don't want is for him to combo charge my general unit and in the front with his swordmasters and the dragon from the side, because that could pop the general in just 1 or 2 rounds. So that's the movement there. Going to the next, I've put my Fellbats right in front of his dragon princes to delay them yet another turn, and that will allow me to move out with my Black Knights later on. And at this point, waiting for the Lion Chariots to commit before I move the Black Knights. The Black Knights really are just there to delay his strong right flank while I move up the center and start to get into combat without any flank charges. Next picture, what he decides to do is just hit the the Grave Guard bunker with 2 of these Lion Chariots, and I actually thought this was a mistake, and it turned out to be a correct prediction. The Lion Chariots did a total of 7 hits, that's average on impact hits between them, but only killed a couple of guys thanks to good armor and good toughness. And the difference between Grave Guard and Tomb Guard is that Grave Guard actually have heavy armor instead of light armor, making them a lot tougher, but also the Helm of Commandment, buffing this entire unit to weapon skill 7, made it very difficult for him to win this combat. And with the Vampire attacking back, having Walking Death in there helped, a War Banner on the unit meant that I won the combat and managed to break one of the Lion Chariots, pushing it back. The other one held around, unfortunately. Next picture, you can see an overview here. He's moved his dragon back around again, and he's moved the eagle into the front of the direwolves. Now, this is a good tactic here, because what he can do is destroy the direwolves with shooting and magic, forcing me to charge the eagle with his with the Blood Knights, and then he can hit me in the flank with